few weeks ago, I headed out to the Franschhoek winelands just outside of Cape Town to attend a vintage and classic car show. This being a vintage and classic car show obviously presented an ideal opportunity to get out there and shoot some film photos. I'm basically sharing this video with you guys as I explore new ways to share more of my photography. As I say, going to a classic car show presented an ideal opportunity to shoot some film, get out there, create some more work, but also it presented the perfect opportunity for me to try this newly acquired setup that I had been wanting to try for quite some time, and shooting photos at a car festival seemed to be the ideal place or scenario to test out this new, to me, camera, a Nikon F90x with a 50mm f1.8G. I was very excited to try this out because this is actually, in the 13 plus years that I've done photography, it is the first Nikon camera that I've actually owned, whether it be a digital or a film camera, but it's the very, very first Nikon camera I've ever owned. So I'm very excited to have this in my possession, and I was very excited to actually get out there and try it out at this car festival. The event was hosted at the Huguenot Monument, which was a nice and rather different backdrop compared to most of the car shows that I've actually been, which are normally set in an urban style kind of environment. Also, just a side note, if you're ever in and around Cape Town, or you are visiting Cape Town, just make sure to put Franschhoek on your list of places to visit. It is quite a nice, beautiful, fancy but beautiful town, and I do recommend that if you're in and around Cape Town. It is literally a very nice place to visit, and if you're into photography, then obviously it'll present many photo opportunities. Anyways, back to the show. There were some lovely cars on display, ranging from Alphas to Mustangs to Porsches to old Volkswagens, and some very interesting looking Citroen cars, which I really enjoyed. I only had some expired Kodak Gold with me, about 3 rolls, so I loaded that up into the Nikon and started walking around and seeing if I could find anything interesting to shoot. I instantly realized that walking around, it was going to be very difficult to get any compositions that are isolating the cars or that have got the cars on their own and whatever, due to the cars being closely parked together, but also there was quite a big crowd. There were a lot of people walking in and around the cars, so it was either you're going to wait for a perfect composition, or you had to be, creative around it. Instead of waiting and trying to see if I could get compositions on the cars on their own, or trying to get clean compositions, I actually decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to try and photograph this event with almost like including the interactions of the people in and around the car, because it was quite interesting to see. And when you were at the show, you would eavesdrop on some conversations, and you would hear, like the people speak about, or like especially the older people speak about the cars, especially like for instance, like some of them, like one guy mentioned that he remembers when this one Ferrari first came out, and he saw it in a magazine, and it was nice. It was just a nice thing to see, and so that gave me the idea of trying to capture some sort of interaction of the people with the cars, because I just always find that actually cars serve as a very good time capsule. I've always believed that with cars, you'll always be able to, or you'll always be able to use cars to define a certain generation or a certain era. So, for instance, you know, cars from the 90s, you'll always be able to identify that generation, cars from the 80s and so forth and so forth. So it was quite nice to see that, you know, looking at, especially like the older people looking into the cars, and almost you could see there was a sense of nostalgia. It was they either reminded them of something, or it just sent them back to an era which was quite cool. Or you know, for instance, there's got this one shot of this boy looking into an old 190 SL Mercedes Benz, and you could see the fascination. This young kid, obviously looking and being fascinated at the interior of this car with all the chrome and all the leather, which is, I believe, obviously completely different to what they are normally experiencing in modern day cars and all of that. And after receiving my scans back from the lab, I quickly realized that, you know, I should have actually made the effort to shoot the event on fresh film, because my 20-year-old Kodak Gold didn't seem to hold up too well, especially in the high demanding dynamic range situation. It was quite sunny, midday sun, so it was quite harsh light, so you had quite a bit of stops between your shadow areas and your highlight areas. And I just feel like especially in the highly exposed areas, the film seemed to just not handle well. Unlucky on my part, but it was all I had with me in my camera bag, so I had to do with that. But even though I do feel like some of the photos, you can do something interesting with them. For instance, the ones where the color has completely fallen apart, maybe flipping them to black and white seems to work. But I do wish that I had taken the time, or I had taken some fresh film with me. Also, when I was preparing to go to the event, I did consider taking a medium format camera with me, but then I just opted, because I was using my digital camera to shoot video, and then I had the Nikon, which is quite bulky as well. It's not like the most portable camera, so I had this on a strap, and then I had the video camera with me. I just thought having a medium format camera would also then just be unnecessary extra weight. But looking at some of the shots that came back, and looking at some of, especially like the detailed shots, I wish I would have taken my medium format camera, because I just feel like it would have gotten some very interesting photos from there. And then the other thing I decided to do was, because of all the crowds and trying to get interesting compositions, I obviously couldn't photograph everything with just crowds. So then I also opted to just focus on the details on some of these cars, because vintage cars, especially from the 50s, 60s, they have a lot of chrome on them, they have a lot of metallic detail. It's almost like designers back then obviously were not held back by efficiency and being kinder to the planet and all of that. So it's almost like they had just a free reign on the design, and it's always nice to see those details on those cars. And for an aesthetic reasons, those details always seem to render well on film photos. So I decided I'd walk around some of the cars and try and capture some interesting details and do some interesting or some creative compositions where, you know, you're not really just taking a photo of a car. You're like, you know, either you've got the car on a quarter panel and contrasting with the grass color or whatever. So I try to play around with some compositions, you know, also, you know, play around with compositions where you've got foreground cars focusing on a car in the background there, just so that you could be challenged creatively. And I always find that it's a good creative exercise when everything is just not obviously there for you to focus on, or for the shot is not just there. You have to walk around, you have to look for the shot, and that's a very good exercise, which I did enjoy quite a lot, and I am happy with quite a few of the results that I came back with. So, and then I bumped into some friends from a photography community that I'm part of here in Cape Town. We walked around, enjoyed the event, chatted a lot about the cars and everything, grabbed some lunch, walked around Franschhoek, which is, I still highly recommend walking around Franschhoek. Is a really cool town, especially if you're into photography and all of that. There are so many things to photograph, street photography, some interesting buildings in and around. It's a very historic town, so there's a lot of buildings that old buildings that carry a lot of history, but have also got some very interesting architectural structures around them. Overall, it was quite a nice day and a good photography exercise for me. I'm pretty sure I'll go back next year to that event, and it was just really a good exercise for me. And this is a means of me trying to explore different ways to share my photography. I know I haven't been on YouTube for quite some time, and I've just found that sharing photos on Instagram is not really the same as it used to be before. It's just a different kind of platform now. So I've decided to come back to YouTube and do a lot of these kind of videos where I can do a short video just as a means to share more than one photo with you guys, or share some sort of photography exercise experience, whether we're talking about gear, whether we're talking about venturing out, or something relating to photography community. I do appreciate the support I've gotten on the previous videos. It's been a while since I've come on here, as I said again, but thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.